Good morning, everyone, from Dunrovin Ranch in Lolo, Montana. It's a beautiful, snowy December morning, and we are happy to welcome you to our Monday socials. I'd like to again introduce my great friend, Brandon Carpenter, who lives in eastern and central Montana. He has two places. His own place is a little bit north of Billings, but his family ranch that he now operates with his mother and his children and his siblings is near Rygate, Montana, which is more central Montana. So this keeps Brandon on the road. And I believe today that Brandon is going to take us to a cattle sale to buy some new cows. And I'm really interested in this because while I've purchased a whole number of horses and I know what to look for to buy a good horse, I have no idea what you look for when you want to buy a new cow. So this will be really interesting for all of us. I'm sure to learn something new. So with that, James, can I ask you to take it away?
Hey, good morning from the Hashknife. Today we're going to take you to a cow sale. My mother has decided she wants to buy a couple of cows and keep her little herd going. And so we're going to do that for her. We may pick something up for ourselves, but first I want to run you through kind of a process. We are usually sent catalogs from different registered breeders, and I look at this here, and they will show you, all what they got to showcase, what they look like, and I've kind of picked a cow out here to show you what they do, what they look like. They've got a number, her picture, registered name, date of birth, registration number shows that she's 100% purebred. Her parents and their parents, and then their grandparents. So then you've got an idea. If you follow bloodlines, you can look at that. We've got a lot of different types of things to look at here, which is calving ease direct. What is this calf, what she'll do, or this heifer, what she'll do. Birth weight, weaning weight, yearling weight, average daily gain. This is direct matter intake, which means they measure every day how much she consumes for hay. This is her milk score, maintenance score. How much does it take to keep her going? Her chance of being pregnant as a heifer. Calving ease maternal. What did her mother do? Stayability. How long is she going to stay in the herd and produce calves for you through the age of 6? These are carcass weight scores, marbling, carcass weight, carcass your grade, yield grade, ribeye area, fat, and then these are some scores to say whether or not they'd be good to keep in the herd. This is a general all-over score for being in a herd and for some kind of growth and a decent animal to go into the food chain. And this is strictly basically a food chain type production for our food. So you look at these numbers, and some of these are pretty low. Good birth weight is way low. I like that because you want a small calf to be born. It's easy on the cow. But then look at the weight that they gain. Here's a weaning weight. Here's the yearling weight. And these are just scores, but you look how they go with the breed standard or within their own herd against their peers. She's at the top 2 and 3% there, average daily gain in the top 2% of the herd. Here's one, dry matter intake. Well, she's at 86% there. So she takes a lot to get in there in these numbers, but it's not that much more. Milk is really high. I like that. She's top 31%. Her maintenance, again, goes along with these numbers here. Whether she's going to be top 6%, she's going to get pregnant as a heifer. Calving ease maternal's pretty good. It's not great. It's down there, I should say. Stayability, your market type scores here. She's in top 7% on her carcass weight. Look at some of these numbers here. So you look at those, but this isn't the end all for it. You want to look this animal over. I want to see what that animal looks like on the hoof. I want to see how long their back really is, how blocky they are. I want a nice thick animal. I like real rounded type of rump, and you can see this animal in comparison to this, and it can be daylight, sunlight differences. You got a lot more flank here showing, some hip bone showing. So you want to look these guys over And well, here's one over here. Look at the length of that cow. Really long back, which means a lot more steaks in there. You get a lot more carcass weight and desirable ones. And then they throw a bull in here to show what this one's sire looks like. So all in all, it's just a guide. It's kind of a loose guide, but you look at it, you can't throw it away. But when it boils down to it, I want to look those animals over and I'm going to score them as we would look for them if you had no idea what these numbers were, or if they were available. What would I look for in an animal? And we'll cover that prior to the sale when we walk through them. So stick with us. All right, well, we're at the sale now, and this is actually before the sale starts. We got about an hour and a half to look some of these animals over, and Braden here is camera shy. Lisa's camera shy. They're all standing behind each other trying to crowd around. So here's what we're doing. So they give you these books. These are just a sale bill that you saw before, and Braden's got one, I got one, and we've looked at this cow here, number 19, in the sale bill, and looked at her EPDs, looked at her date of birth, and then her expected calving date, and then we want to physically look at her. Now I'm more interested in her phenotype, how she looks, and so we're going to see if we can find her in here, and Braden will make a comparison, and I'll compare her, and we do it on a scale of 1 to 3, 3 being best, and you can use 2.5, 2 1/4, it doesn't matter, and then we kind of compare what we've got for an eye for this cow, what we like about her, what we don't like about her. We might rule her out, and so we just kind of easily slip along, and that lot number is actually that ear tag that's in their right ear. So we're looking for number 19. Just kind of let them slow down. Number 20. I don't see her yet. Of course, tags are all on the wrong side, and we want to look there. What we're looking for is their feet, how their feet look. We want to see how their hind end looks. I want a nice solid frame cow. I want a long back, nice straight legs. And this is harder than there she is right here. This cow walking away is up in the corner. I think that's her right there. 19, that's the girl. That's the one I'm looking for. She looks a little narrow on the front end. She's got some decent length. This cow's a little bit wild. She's pretty fleshy, flat backed. Her feet don't look like they're overgrown or grown out. I don't see a lot of hip going there, but I want them a little bit more blocky. She's a little narrow on the front end. And you'll see some of these cows that are pretty blocky, like this cow there. See how thick she is? This cow's kind of long and lean, but when they narrow up a little bit too much, then that's losing some weight off the front end. But these cows are all in pretty good shape, so we'll put a score on her and then move on to the next one, and we just keep doing that until we have looked at all of the animals on our sale bill here and eliminated or looked at what we really think we got to have and kind of what more you'll go for. So that's where we will continue to do this for a while, compare our scores, and then when they come in, see if we can afford them. Stay tuned. God, you're just killing. Smaller cow. Actually, I prefer. That's 156. This is 164 is the back here. Yeah. 156 is right in front of you. Just hiding around. She's got a really nice bag on her. She's a small frame. Both of these are smaller frame cows. She's smaller. She's a little larger frame. Bone's better, but she's not as fleshy as this girl. A little more compact. She's a little longer. So it's kind of a pick your pick there. Well, here's a few younger cows. These are actually coming 3-year-old heifers. They have not calved before. And so for us, this would be just like having our cows that have not calved, our young ones, that we've held and not bred at yearlings, but bred at 2-year-olds, and then they're going to calve as 3s. This first one's a nice looking little cow there. Nice and long body. Her feet are really good. Her bones are straight. She's got good sized bone. Long back. You know, she's fairly even from her front to her hind end, from her flank down. Her bag is a little small, a little white on there if you're getting really picky about her, but it's a nice looking cow. This one right here, also number 80, is a very nice looking cow. Nice and even all the way across. And if you get a good turn on them, you got a nice kind of a rounded butt, nice long hams on them, and that big round steaks. And nice little bunch of heifers in here. There's a few that I wouldn't prefer, but this one right here's got a really nice hind end on her. Nice and wide, deep. She's really deep on the front end. That bag looks good. I think we've actually got her marked down as one that's a possibility. But we're buying for my mother, and she wanted something that was 3 to 4 years old, 4 to 5 years old, so that it was a proven cow that's already calved and a little bit ease on the calving. Not that it matters to her because I'm the one doing it anyway, but it's what she wants, so that's okay. But if we get something like this, it is at a really good price, and we might jump on it for her. Nice cows, real nice cows. Alright, we're going to start with lot 1 on our catalog. It's the very first cow, and you got to be kind of quick when you're listening because they can be gone that quick if you don't want them, and you don't flail around a lot if you don't want them. So we'll give a quick swap here, and you can watch this auctioneer. You can see bringing them on video now instead of on a live type of in the arena behind the videos. You can see where we used to run. A lot of guys don't do that anymore. They can run faster this way. So here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, number 1, the one to buy, what do you get? Look how many, somebody get about 10,000. Well, somebody get 10.
So I got a $10,000 bid.
Looks at about 2,000, 25.
And they got up to the $2,000 bid. Started 10. They started high, and then they brought it back down until people start bidding. Back to a hand, $250, $42 and a half, $42 and a half, $250, So we got 4,200. Now they're looking for 4,250. They're looking for 4,500. So $4,250. Couldn't quite get the 4,500. That's a fair price for that cow. She's our number 1 cow in the herd.
Out of 15, 17, 22. That's $6,000 to get more money down. That two, that's 22.5. That's 2,500. That's $2,900 to get 7.5. 7.5 worth. That's 25.7 for me. That's what you don't find them with that kind of pedigree and numbers. Give me 27 for me. I got 25 here, 7.5. That's $2,900 to do all the girls have for the eye. So 2,500.
Good morning from the Hashknife. We're throwing some feed out, or just got finished with it, and now the matriarch has got to look the cows over. We bought a couple of new cows the other day for her, and she wanted to take a look at them and see how everybody's doing. So here we are, making another pass at these guys, and taking a look at the new ones, taking a look at the ones that have been around, seeing how everybody's doing, and how everybody is looking, whether they're looking like cows or not.
Oh, here's the bum again.
Oh God, here we go. This is a problem.
You are something else.
She's a problem for society. Look at that, just a bum. All right, goodbye. And then we got something that doesn't look like a cow, but look at her. She's not happy with these cows around. She's laying her ears back a little bit. That colt runs the cows off. All right. Let's see what else we can find here.
There's Rhonda.
Nope, that's number 52. She's like her. Rhonda's number 66.
Oh, okay.
She's a big cow too. She's big, big, homely,
Ugly
but
Rhonda.
she's sweet. So everybody that's really big could be her. Like right there, that cow right there.
One with her head up.
Nope, that's 83. She looks a lot like her though.
Yeah.
Here's Rhonda, I think. Come on.
68 here.
Yeah, the one behind her.
70.
I'm surprised.
Hi, girl.
I'm surprised. I think that's her right there.
Wow.
Take a look. That sure looks like her. That cow's not a pretty cow. And Big Rhonda's not pretty. And apparently she's not happy either.
Got a disagreement
Those two
going.
don't like each other. No, that's
58.
All of those cows that year we kept are really good sized. I don't see Rhonda.
58's the one that was a fence crawler, and then we got her broke of that.
Yeah.
And then her first calves
will do it.
were a set of twins, and she lost them in a snowstorm.
Yeah. All right. And coming up is a brand new cow that we just bought this week at the auction.
Hi, pretty girl.
And she has got some
she's pretty.
really good breeding too. So that's Mom's cow. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed the ride and the check, and say bye, Mom.
Bye-bye. Have a good
Brandon, that was really fun to watch. I have to say, there's a lot of questions in the chat, and I have some questions of my own.
Okay.
So, are you ready for them?
Well, if I don't know it, I'll make it up. How's that?
Yeah, well, that's the way to do it for sure. Okay, I didn't catch where the sale was. Was this a billing sale?
No, this was over just west of Bozeman, near Three Forks, a little town just outside of there called Logan.
Logan.
And it wasn't in the town; it was at these people's ranch, where they've got that all set up as you know. They've been registered breeders for quite some time, and there's normally a group of 4 of them that go together on this big sale.
Oh, well, that's great. So the sale book is by the breeder, not by the location of the sale?
That's correct. Now, this is a little different because they have a collaboration of these 4 different breeders that do this. Most of them are their own breeder, and you'll just have a single ranch that does this, and they too will develop a catalog for you of all of their animals.
Okay. So they all come together, and is there at a particular ranch that sets this up? Because it looked like, you had a regular, what would normally you would walk a cow through. This time you were using videos, which I thought was a really cool thing. Less stress on the cattle to run them through like a stockyard.
Yeah, it is a little less stressful on the cows or the animals, because the same thing occurs with a bull sale. And we're going to go buy a bull in the spring, and we'll probably take you along for that ride too. But everybody used to do this in that small arena like that very small ring you see in one door. As the animal was being auctioned and as the bidding was going on, of course, it's turning and moving, and you're able to get another look at it. And then they would kick it out, and the bidding would finish, and then they would bring another one in. So now, with our technology the way it is, and this is largely a function, I think, of our internet and the ability for someone to be anywhere on the globe, they can bid on that animal when they use these monitors like that, because they're tied right into the internet that auctioneer is also watching. Because you might have heard him say a couple of times, "Internet, you're out," which means somebody has outbid them and they're not going to, or they have the opportunity to bid again, but they can't be there live hearing that or seeing that necessarily. They should be able to hear it, but even when you're sitting there, it can be a little confusing at times of who's got what bid, what did you just bid, what are you going to go to next? So you have to be very, very careful and listen very quickly with your ears, as well as be able to hear what they're saying and keep track of what's going on, because you can see how rapidly it moves.
Yeah, and that's a real advantage, because were you not, because you were sick or you had something that you had to do at the ranch, you could still participate via the internet. So I'm sure it's been a great opener for other people to participate, because they can't always come to be in person.
That's correct. And the ranch, we did buy a couple of animals for ourselves too. I couldn't help it. Lisa wants to have them all. They're like puppy dogs to her, so I got to quit taking her to sales, or we'll end up buying everything in the state. We don't have the grass for it, but that one cow that you watched, the number 80, is a 3-year-old. We did buy her. And what's kind of neat about that is the participation on the internet. Now, my mother, because of all of the COVID stuff, she's 77 years old, just turned 77, and she has COPD. She's on oxygen. So she's in a high-risk category. And I told her, I said, and she just loves going to these. I said, because she meets people she knows, and it's a social hour for her, and she just likes to be a part of it. And I said, Mom, this is kind of, for your age, is going to be risky, because I can tell you, how us ag people are. Nobody's going to be wearing a mask. Yeah. And we all shake hands, we give hugs, we just let nature run its course, whether you agree with it or not. This is what happens. And I said, so you're a high risk. It's probably not a good idea for you to go. And she goes, yeah, I'm okay with that. She actually stayed home and watched the entire video sale on the internet. And she said, oh yeah, I saw when you bought this one, and we cut the video a little short because it said sold, and they give them the number at Hashknife Ranch, so that was kind of, she was feeling all happy and giddy about that.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's great. So we do have some questions from some of our viewers. And the first question is do you play the guitar and sing?
I sing in the shower. I think I sound phenomenal. My wife is like, always raised eyebrow to me, but no guitars. Sorry.
Well, yeah, that was a fun question. Okay, the first serious question is, can you tell us why you prefer the red Angus over the black Angus? What makes you home in on a breed? That
is an excellent question. We have several primary reasons for that. One of them, and by the way, we suffer for it as breeders, because the black Angus breeders, the association, they have done the most brilliant job of marketing their cattle. Mm-hmm. And the number one thing that it has to have to be a certified black Angus is the carcass, the hide has to be black. Well, we don't fall into that. Ours are red. And the reason we have red cattle is their temperament tends to be, even though they're Angus, the red Angus temperament seems to be a little quieter. You can have I've been around black Angus cattle that you did not even get off of your horse, so those cows would take you. Not all of them are like that. A good share of them overall tend to be a little bit more cantankerous, good mothers, but that's a broad brush. But overall, the reds are much more temperate in their basically how they deal with you. And part of that as well is how you deal with your animals. I've seen a good number of black herds that are fairly quiet. Now, in the summertime, that black cow is under heat stress a lot. Yeah. The reds don't have, that it's just a basic coloring issue where the reds aren't quite as affected by the heat that the blacks are. And so you have breeding issues. If it's too hot, they're not going to breed. They tend to breed anyway, but it's just one more thing that I just don't like those animals to be as stressed. Those are the two really large reasons why we can handle them. We can be closer. Calving really, I don't think does much of a difference. That's part of our EPDs that we're looking at, where you look at your calving birth weight, and that sort of thing that you choose, and the phenotype. Just look, is this a really big calf? Is this going to be a large shouldered calf or a bull or cow that will produce that? So you're looking at those things in combination, but those are the two biggest things for the reds.
So we actually have some really interesting questions going on here. One viewer wanted to know, is there a meat difference between females and males? So when you get a calf, you get both males and females. And do meat purchasers prefer one over the other, or do you get a higher weight? Can you contrast those two things?
Yeah, that's another great question. If you can tell the difference between a heifer and a steer when that steak's laying on your plate, you're a better individual than I am. You cannot necessarily tell. No. The one thing that you really want as a breeder is that combination of a really good genetics from that cow. And if it's a heifer, you're going to save that heifer for seed stock or to replace some of your older animals. That's important. If you're selling strictly for the market, you want a steer because they develop physically a little faster. They're larger. The weight gain is a little bit better on them. And as far as taste, there are differences between breeds. It depends on basically what you feed them as well. That's your largest contributor to how it is. Now, if you're going to eat something that is really, really good, and by good, I say the taste, because now you're talking about marbling within the meat, and that's how much fat is inside the meat tissue. A virgin bull will be one of your best eaters because they're a fast weight gain. I mean, they've got the hormones to have a heavy, dense, thick muscle, but also have some fat to them. But you want to get them before they breed, because then now you have hormonal changes that you'll show up in the meat. I think we had a couple of bulls that we had to sell this summer, went to market, went to slaughter, and typically a bull that's been breeding is strictly hamburger. They are sold, processed, and they are turned into hamburger, period. So differences between sex, not so much, especially heifers to steers, but steers are a little bit more sought after because of the weight gain that they can make on the hoof, a little bit more profitability in the feedlots to go into the food chain.
You know, I think those of us who have been hunters understand a little bit about the fact that what an animal eats shows up in how it tastes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that people who are not accustomed to thinking about all of that whole chain of events that goes into the making of a piece of meat don't often think about that. But the quality of the food that goes in is really reflected in the quality of the meat and the taste. Absolutely the taste.
Yes, the taste is a big deal. You hear a lot about grass-fed animals, and versus finished with some people want just strictly grass-fed with no finish, which means it's going to be a little bit leaner meat because they don't have a quick weight gain like we would have if we sat and ate a bunch of hamburgers, and some really good carbos all the time, and we get fluffed up. I'll call it fluffed up. Then you were going to be more tender for those cannibalistic type people. But if we just ate really, our basic vegetables, some protein, some meats, and you didn't fluff up, you're going to be a little bit less tender, and you're not going to have quite that juicy taste that fat provides. So the grasses, the types, the finish that you put on them. We did one time finish a couple of steers with a very heavy molasses-based oats and grain with corn in it, and there was a lot of the molasses, and they love it because it's like candy, right? The problem is molasses has a very strong taste, and we could taste that molasses in the meat. Yeah.
This is a real science, and I do see the introduction of science. And I mean, over the lifetime of your family, I see your lovely father behind you in the picture, Tex, which was one of my favorite guys, a great auctioneer, I have to tell you.
He was a good auctioneer, yeah.
Yeah, and a great show spokesperson, or what do you call it, announcer.
Announcer,
But, yeah, but I'm certain that during his lifetime, and therefore your lifetime, that the whole science has really changed. They can tell you so much more about that cow and what it has gone through. I mean, that I was really interested in the sale book because it gave you so much information. And then, like you say, you have to integrate that with your own kind of gut feel from the experience that you have, that you can't just, you put a score on it, but you can't say, I'm looking specifically at this or specifically at that. You're looking at the entirety of it, the whole package.
Yes. And all of those parts are, God, you might even throw some voodoo in there, I mean, as a help, because you just don't know. Even if you see what that animal looks like, you look at their EPDs or what the science or pseudoscience, it's nothing really more than record keeping and looking at trends. Right. As the best way, because outside of, using some ultrasound on like the ribeye area for the marbling, outside of that, there's not a lot of what I would call genetic science, right? You're not looking at an actual genotype and actual genetic markers necessarily. So there is a lot of those combinations of that have to come together, and you can still make a bad choice. Yeah,
absolutely. So people were surprised by the price, and they wanted to know, is that an average price, $4,200 for? And she was what? How old was that horse? That cow?
That particular cow, that number 80, is she will be 3 in the spring. Okay. And so she is basically like we have for our replacement heifers, where she wasn't bred. I think she was probably bred and had a calf last year as a 2-year-old, was bred as a yearling. We bought her because they are, moving some of their animals around, and you may be getting something that they don't want. So there's always that. It's kind of that used car lot thing where you may be buying somebody else's problem. You hope not, but the younger they are, and the very old cows are old. God, that one was, I think she was 9 years old and sold for almost $11,000. So she's really at the end of her life and spending that much money on her. And I think Kalen and I think we'll meet him in a little bit, but we do the podcasting on the YouTube and on our Montana or Hashknife Ranches, Montana. And we were talking exactly about that issue. Why would you buy a cow that's that old for that kind of money? Well, what they'll do is they'll AI her or artificially inseminate her, and then they will take all of the embryos and pull them out. They'll flush them out and then put them into less valuable cattle to produce more calves out of her. So she will make her money back in that manner, but that's rare. The prices were a little bit high, not super high for bred cattle. The bred cattle market right now is actually pretty good. It's the feeder cattle, like our calves that we sell, that's depressed. So here we go again. We're buying it at retail and selling at wholesale. We're going and getting them and sending them both ways on our own. Like JFK said. So these are prices that are quite variable. And as you see, they really want something, then they'll pay for it. And we got very lucky with that number 80 cow that we purchased. Her genetics were very good. And I think the auctioneer mentioned that, and people weren't bidding, and I wasn't going to buy her. And then when I saw the price like it was, and my other son, Braden, looked at her and went, oh my God, this is a really good cow. Outside, we saw her with her phenotype and saw her genetics, and then went, yeah, let's do it. But I can tell you this, if somebody else would have bid her up on me, I would not have bid again, because I've got a limit that you just have a limit. You can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Participating in an auction you have to be disciplined. And I have a reputation as being a great person to have in an auction at all these nonprofit events, because I have been known to bid against myself.
Yes.
And all these nonprofits, they ply you with dinner and wine, and then and I really did bid against myself for something one time, and my husband says, "You're out of here. We're not giving you a bid number anymore."
It's true.
It is. You got to be disciplined. You really have to set it if you can.
But my great grandmother could not stand to be outbid. She had, and I got that personality too. I want to win. Well, my dad would see her in the crowd bidding on something, and he would do something completely illegal. It's called rolling a bid. And he would go to her and she would bid, and then he'd do a fictitious bid over here that and he'd go right back to her, and she would be bidding herself up because he was like, she's pretty mean and she's got plenty of money. Let's go ahead and see what we can squeeze out of her. So he'd been known to do that with her. He wouldn't do it with anybody else, but he'd do it with his grandmother, my great-grandmother.
So I loved the little video of Sharon, your mom, in the truck for a couple of reasons. Number one, everybody was delighted to see your mother. And
good.
Yeah, I'll return to that in a moment. But she fed ears a treat. And my ears picked up and my eyes when I saw ears. She's my favorite one of your cows. And I have even jokingly told you if she appears missing one day, just because I came through with my horse trailer and rounded her up. She's a delightful cow. But tell us about the ears and kind of relate that back to Judy Blunt's book. She talks about the winter, I think it was in the 60s, where the horrible winter that came through eastern Montana and just devastated the cattle. But tell Ear's story, because Ear's is a really interesting cow.
Yeah, she is a replacement cow. We kept her not because I wanted to, but when she calved, it was a very cold, and we calved late because of this over here. We don't put them inside. I mean, they make it on their own. We do have a barn that we can get them in and save some of these calves, but we don't bring 30, 40 of them at a time and calve them inside. We just don't do that. That's why we calve late, and some other reasons why as well that are only to us make sense, and we have some good-looking cattle because of it. But she froze her ears off because of the weather. It was very, very cold, and the bottom half of her tail is frozen off. She doesn't have that nice little plumage on the very end of her tail. It's gone. And so when you go to market, oftentimes those guys will use any excuse they can, these buyers, to not pay you for an animal. And they'll dock you. They'll just not bid up because she doesn't have ears. It changes nothing. It's just cosmetic. And so I saw that and went, God, I really didn't want to keep her necessarily, but you know what? We might as well keep her. And it was fortuitous because she really has been a cow that has saved other calves. She will let any calf nurse off her. She does not care. And I've seen 2 to 3 calves at a time on her, only one of them being her own, all simultaneously, nursing on her. So she's been a great nurse cow that way, and she's very calm, quiet, because she stands out. We have tended to just feed her by hand, and some of them we do. There's a couple of them. Number 66, we call her Big Rhonda. That's the one that Mom was trying to look for. Same way, they're really sweet cows, and they come up and they'll eat out of your hand, literally. Well, Ears is not just looking for food; she demands food. As you can tell, she'll put that nose right up inside that window. But that's why she's around. If it hadn't been for her losing those ears and tail in a winter storm when she was freshly calved, she'd be gone. And there's a number of them that are like that in her herd. We've got probably altogether maybe half a dozen that have got, not to the extent that she does. She looks like Shrek. She just has nothing there.
Yeah, but she's so friendly. She's so sweet. I'm going to tell a little story about my having brought the Giddy Up girls over to your ranch. I have this group of women that have ridden with me for years, and they were getting to be better and better riders. And so I said, well, it seems to me we should put you guys on cows. And I called up Brandon and asked if we could visit your ranch. And you were so generous. Your mother was so generous. Your wife. We just had a wonderful time. But Brandon's a little bit of a scallywag. And the reason I say
true.
It is true. It's very much so. So the first couple days, he had us on the ground. You got to know how the cow's going to move before you can move it on a horse. So our first day was on the ground, and everybody fell in love with Ears because she was always coming up wanting attention. And then we got to know that you had to look for the ear tag number. And so the next couple of days we're on horseback separating out some cattle. And we have one particular Giddy Up girl who, she's kind of a smart ass herself, And so I remember Yeah.
That
Okay.
one.
I remember Brandon going in and asking her to sort out a cow that wasn't there. The number, yeah, she said, I think it was Pearl. Pearl, go out and find number, I don't know, 25 or whatever it was. And she's out there in the corral looking for number 25, and Brandon's just standing there stoic as can be. And finally, he tells her that, well, there is no 25. It was fun. We had a great time. And we fell in love with your mom. I've known your mother for a long time. And you know, people online loved seeing your mom. So I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't ask her if someday we could do a video visit with her. And I happen to know she does fabulous quilts. She just does these beautiful quilts.
Her quilting is remarkable. I mean, it is amazing what she can do. And she just finished a quilt for someone that she didn't completely build it, but it was pieces and parts that they could not work. They couldn't do it themselves. They sent it to her, and she took her about 2 days, and she got it all put together and sent it back to them so that they could finish this quilt. But she has got some skill that is, it's just amazing. You know, you just don't think of your mom being able to do, you know, stuff. It's mom, right? But when you look at what she can do, it really is, it's awe-inspiring. And she has had some of these quilts that have, you know, they win in contests, and people have paid some exorbitant amounts of money to have some of her quilts. And she's made a quilt for each one of the grandkids, each one of the kids. And she says, you know what? I might not live forever, so I got to get these quilts done before I die, so that my kids and grandkids can have quilts. But she would probably, we might have to do like a segment 1 through 5, a mini series, where she could start getting her to talk about this. So it would be fun. I bet she'd like it.
Well, let's see if we can't, and maybe we can get around with me and you, and I can ask her questions, because I'm just, she's also an incredible cook, and she has these stories, this rich stories from having lived the life that she has lived. She spent a lot of her life on horseback and with the cattle and with your dad and all kinds of situations. And it's just she's a fascinating, wonderful woman. And we
Well, thank you. Yeah, I rely on her a lot of times. Well, I'll ask her, what, do you remember this? Do you remember that? Do you remember what happened? Just as you saw in that video, she talked about one of the cows that stuck their head up, that number 58, and she was a fence crawler, and I was going to get rid of her, but she did have a calf and settle down. But she remembered that she had a set of twins that first year, and I had forgotten that. You know, there's things like that she can remember. So, and there's other times that we'll argue about the way things really were, and of course I'm right. But you know, she's just I think she's starting to slip a little bit, if you know what I'm saying. I tell her that. She laughs.
Yeah. Well, I happen to know that you have 2 young men in your family, your sons, and I've known them for a long time, since they were little kids. And you've partnered up with both of them in different ways, but Kalen is home, is he not? And you are doing this Hashknife Enterprise YouTube video primarily through him, are you not? Isn't he the kind of the genius behind the curtain here?
Well, he's the guy who knows how to run the computer. I, of course, am the talent. So, I mean, yeah, he now he's in the Army, was in Afghanistan earlier this year, got home a few months ago, and he's now he went from Fort Drum, New York, upstate New York. He's now at Fort Knox, Kentucky. And he just got home Friday night before last. So what I'm going to do is have him slip in here and grab a chair. There he is. There he is. But it's okay. Tell him our what's your intro? Click, subscribe, all of this stuff.
I always start. I have to have a script normally, but we'll go off the cuff here with my memory. It's like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. It's like, comment, share on Facebook. Spread the word and let everybody know wherever you are. So that's how it.
Hashknife Ranch.
Yeah, so on Facebook, we're on Hashknife Ranch and Enterprises. If you go into the search page, you can do @hashknife.mt for Montana. And then, of course, we got the YouTube page, which is just plain Hashknife Ranch. It's easy to find. We're not the hunting channel. There is a hunting channel, but we've got our brand on wood that you can see as essentially the logo, much like you do for Days at Dunrovin. You've got everything as the logo, and you'll see us our traditional Hashknife brand that we like to emulate everywhere we can.
So, Kaylin, now that I got you, I got to ask a few questions here.
Sure.
Okay, we want to know the origin of the Hashknife brand.
Oh boy! So this is something that Dad and I have been talking about quite a bit. We did a quick episode on it. I think it's one of our first episodes on the page, on the YouTube channel. But frankly, we really don't have a solid answer to that. What's cool is I'm a big history guy. I have a history degree from Montana State, so go Cats.
Go Chris. Those are 5 words.
I had to throw that in there. But yeah, I've got a history degree from Montana State, and one of my last projects with Montana State, I had to go through the Montana Historical Society to complete my final paper, my capstone. And so I've obviously followed the Montana Historical Society and whatnot on Facebook, and I saw a Zoom meeting that they went over the brands in Montana, and it showed how you can search for the brands, their origin, and where they came into the livestock agency and everything. And I found our brand, which was originally from Wyoming. So that's where I have to go next. I found it. Grandpa Yates had brought it to Montana, and he essentially documented it in Melstone, Montana in the spring, I think, of 47. And then from there on, it's passed to my dad and what we have now. But before that, I now have to go to Wyoming and try and do something similar and find that information because I just don't have it. But we do know that it's Symbol brand, one of the last Symbol brands in Montana, and we're proud to show that wherever we can. And we'll get the origin eventually, but that's kind of all we have for now. So
one of the things about the brands is that you can register a brand on different locations on an animal. For instance,
Right.
You can put a brand on a rib on either side, or on a hip on either side, or a shoulder on either side of a cow. This particular brand that we have, I have tried to register that with the state on different locations, and they will not let us do that because it's a Symbol brand. They do not want us to even have this brand, so we have to protect it really, really well. It's the only one in the state. It's a left shoulder on the horses and a left rib on the cows. And if we ever lose that somehow, we'll never get it back.
Right. So it's important for us to stick with our administrative piece and stay on top of it. So that, it's not always the workout in the corrals and in the pastures. It's also on the desktop,
Bureaucracy,
or on the dining room table, filling out those forms to make sure things are done right.
So you refer to it as a simple brand, is that correct?
Symbol. Yes,
Simple.
ma'am. Well,
What does that
normally,
mean?
So Days at Dunrovin, you guys have the D and the R essentially.
Right.
Those are
Right.
alphabet, or some people will throw a number out there. Now,
Right.
What a lot of people will recognize is a Symbol brand. A traditional one would be like a heart or a diamond or something along that lines. What we have is something completely different from that, where it's an implemented tool that many of the homesteaders use when they were coming west, and it was a Hashknife for cutting up potatoes for hash browns. So,
Nice.
and you can use it for meat and stuff too, but primarily hash browns. So it's a symbol of that implemented tool when people were trying to eat and cook when they're coming out west.
very much like an ulu from the
Right.
Alaskan natives.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I said to you when I saw your brand. And somebody's got just posted a photo of your brand. I mean, they are really connected to you guys. They're glad
Good.
to meet you. They're glad to meet you, Kaylin. This is really fun to see all generations. And I wanted to go back to the time, I brought Lady Lanza over some years ago, and you were a young guy at the time, but you've become quite a horse trainer too. Have you not? Have you not finished off some horses, Kaylin?
I have, and before I start that, it's just, I want to let you know, it's exciting that I can participate because normally I'm East Coast and this is my work day.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I can be here for a couple of weeks and kind of join in on this, I'm glad to be here. But yeah, definitely, I've finished some horses, and what's actually kind of cool is my grandfather, he had a horse that really only 3 of us ride now. It's my dad, my brother, and myself. And I got to kind of finish him a little bit. My grandpa had trained him. So when I was living up here the summer afterwards, I finished doing some stuff with him. I finished the mare that I inherited from my grandmother. My dad's giving me horses that, hey, I just don't have the time. So, hey, you'll have to settle for Kaylin, and they hand over the horse to me, and I do what I can with them. And then I have done some full trainings myself, but yeah, I've spent time when I'm home. I've done stuff like that. So.
Well, sometime, Kaylin, I hope that Brandon brings you to Dunrovin and you can do some online training about
Sure. Absolutely.
We'd love to have you. It's just a treat to have you here, Kaylin. And I want to say I'm really happy that you have started this Hashknife Enterprises because, like you, one of the things I think that we can do is bring the ranching life in Montana to the world. And I have to say that the ranching life has some aspects to it that are just so unique. And I wanted to this may embarrass you, Kaylin, but I'm going to say it anyway. Kaylin's been doing some stories on Facebook, which are really well written, Kaylin. I've published as an author, and I love writing. I know what it takes. And you've got some real talent going there. And I was wondering if you wouldn't write a blog for us that we could publish on our site sometime.
I could possibly swing that. Yeah. Deadlines may be a little flexible because there are definitely times where I've called my dad and be like, hey, things aren't happening. I got to go. He's like, I understand. So yeah, absolutely. I would love to do that.
Army's got some kind of schedule.
Yeah. There's something that happens.
Well, I understand that. And not only that, but the creative urge comes when it comes. You can't sort of program it. The story forms in your mind. But some of the stories that you have written have really depicted well, in my mind, ranch life. And I think people would greatly enjoy hearing your voice. And the other thing, I really do hope you get your mother involved, your grandmother, your mother, because I think we have a lot to learn from the entire Carpenter family. So thanks for jumping in, Kaylin. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wait till you get a chance to get Braden on there.
You don't want to do that?
I know he's to the shyer of the two.
He kind of is.
That's great work behind the scenes, and that's great. Yeah. So one more thing I wanted to talk about, Brandon, and I want James to get on here. James, jump on. Get your face up here.
Oh, yeah. Here I am. Come
on, get your face. We want to see you, James.
I'd have to set up all kinds of more tech stuff to do that.
Oh, all right. Well, you're listening, are you not? Well, you're the guy behind the phone. Because right. Ashley is not here, we're not going to do any training this time. But I wanted to share with people what you and I talked about earlier on the phone, Brandon, and that is come January, we're going to get Augie back out there now that he is healed up. And one of the things that we had talked about was teaching Augie to drive and to teach him to pull a contraption. I'm going to call it a contraption because it's kind of a mixture between a travoy and a wagon. But my thinking is that Brandon's going to teach James online how to build this thing, and then you can teach James and Ashley together to get this whole thing going. Can you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this because it's going to be a little something different. You don't get to drive horses all that often anymore, and a lot of people don't have any reason to. So we try to do some of our own, and I drive every horse that we ever train. We start them in this kind of as a training regime, just as a very good foundational type of an exercise. So we're going to do that, and we're going to have James build what's called a stone boat, which is a real thing that you would drag behind a horse, and you would throw rocks and stones on that to clear fields. Early on when we first started settling this country, and it's not got wheels on it. It's got big old rail type of timbers under it, and so it'll be very nice to be able to play, and instead of wheelbarrowing some feet around your place, you can hook Augie up to that and make him earn his keep.
That's going to really be fun, and so you and James will work online in front of all of us to build this, and then you'll work with Ashley to teach him to to drive. And from my perspective, I see a couple of things that I would like to do with all of this. Is number one, I'd like to get a movable chicken coop, in part to keep my pastures in order. The chickens really help a pasture by scratching and breaking up the manure, and they can really help the grass grow. But you don't want them all in one spot. So it seems to me if we built the chicken coop correctly, it could be the stone boat, if you will.
Right.
Move it along. And the other thing is we do have a lovely little carriage that the captains pull. And right now it's got a double shaft, but we certainly could put in a single shaft so we could convert it to something that Augie could pull. It would be really nice to have a horse that was really good at driving as well as riding. And he's a gorgeous horse, so he'd make a wonderful horse to take people around Lolo just to see the town.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun to do that.
Yeah. So, James, sharpen your tools, okay?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure I'll have to get a few extra things out of the workshop here and set up and ready to go. So we'll have to clear some space and get stuff going. We have plenty of scrap wood and all kinds of scrap rails and posts around here. So sure we can put something together.
Yeah, and it's my philosophy about that is build something that if it gets tore up, you're not going to cry about it until they're trained, and then you can put them on stuff that you don't want them to be tearing up, but they're trained well enough at that point that you're not worried about it. So it'll be fairly low tech, and it won't be anything that's going to need a cabinet maker's type skill to do. And then we'll see how it works. We may fail at this too. We may, because I haven't built a boat, but we'll make it work. I think we'll have some success to it.
Yeah, we'll have some fun at least.
Right.
At minimum, we'll have a lot of fun. And I love working with both of you, both James and Brandon. And Brandon, I just want to say again, thank you for including us in your ranch life. It's just a wonderful world, or a portal that you have created for us to look into a life that's, an unusual life and one that has so many different aspects to it that you're going to keep us entertained for a long time.
Well, I hope so, and thank you. It's really wild how things kind of work in concert, because we've talked about this, you and I, for a long time about, a community that people can share. And then we've done the same thing with, my family here. It's like, we need people to understand what it's like and where their food comes from and what it takes to get, a hamburger on their plate. And so this has actually come together almost simultaneously in the last, 6 months or so. So it's really kind of a neat thing that we're doing. And, I keep thinking, oh my God, we're going to run out of material here pretty quick. I don't know. But to me, the most mundane things sometimes are the things that everybody wants to see. And I think the next one we're going to do, you're going to see me shoot myself in the foot just after we had such success with last week's pickup repair. Yeah, that didn't work so good this last week.
That's great. Well, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, you're gonna get it warts and all. I try not to edit things because I don't like that when people do. They take this thing and they shine it to where it's not real, and we don't script anything. You get an idea and you go, okay, well, let's do this today, and it gets filmed like it gets filmed, and I try to keep the cussing down from Lisa as much as possible. Which that's why she's never on camera, because she just cannot contain it. No, I'm just kidding. She's a sweet girl with a very kind mouth.
Yeah, not only that, but she puts up with a lot with you three boys.
And she does. I asked her one day, I said, what if we'd had a girl? And she goes, I can't even imagine having a girl. She said, I'm such a boy mom and she teaches school, and some of these girls are, the freshmen in high school to seniors, and they're crying in this drama. She says, just suck it up, knock it off. They straighten right out.
Yeah, so that's great. So I really appreciate all that you do for us, Brandon, and I hope you have are you going to be back during the holidays, or you're welcome to take a couple weeks off if that's what you'd like to do. But if you are able to send us some more videos, we'd sure love to have you. That's for sure.
Well, I think what I'll do is I'll send you what we did this last week, and then I've got both boys home right now. You know, Braden's not fighting fire, so the government doesn't have him. Braden or Kalen is AWOL, so don't call the general. And we got him for a few weeks, so we might be able to put some things together here, and it'll be a lot of fun. And we really appreciate you giving us more of a voice out there too. This is a little bit different way to do it, but it's really important, and we really appreciate the people that tune in and ask really good questions that are questions that sometimes we just take for granted. But it's nice that people are interested enough to say, hey, what about this? And we hope that nobody ever thinks, oh, I'm not going to ask that because it's too stupid. There is nothing that you could ask that is not important, because if you don't know, you need to know.
Yeah, exactly. And just because you don't know something in an area of life that you have had no experience doesn't mean anything. It just means you've had no experience. I mean, I feel that about everything I do out here. I mean, I know nothing about kingfishers, and suddenly they're on my camera, so I got to learn about kingfishers, you know? That's the fun of this. Life just opens up new things for you.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. So, yeah, we'll give you this last week, and then I'll talk to you guys later. We might just wait until after the first of the year. I think Ashley's needing some time off, and it's probably just a good time for everybody to just kind of relax a little bit and enjoy their families.
Yeah, they still want you to sing.
Oh my God.
Okay. No, they're having fun with you. That's all.
No, that's good. That's important. You know, I got a face made for radio, so they really don't need to, be seeing what they're seeing. That's probably giving them way too much as it is.
That's great, Brandon. Well, thank you. Have a nice weekend. And we will see you next weekend then with something with you and your boys. And that would be wonderful. That would just be great. And have a great weekend, and give your mother a hug for me and tell her that we'd love to have her on.
We will do that. And I'll bet you we can coax her into that. It probably won't take too much. We may have to compress the files, shorten them, or make sequences of, season 1, 2, and 3. Like I said, she's getting her started. So you guys, everybody, please have a great Merry Christmas. Hug each other and fill up on food and just relax.
Thanks a lot, friend.
You bet. Bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you, Brandon and SuzAnne. That was awesome. And definitely enjoyed our time with you guys. And we're looking forward to seeing what's coming up next from the Hashknife Ranch. So we have a few things coming up this afternoon that I just want to make you aware of. And thought I'd share a few things here. First of all, we've got Finding Freddy coming up at noon today, where one of our remote camera operators, I believe Celia today, is on deck for helping find Freddy the pig somewhere around the ranch. So this is always a fun little hunt for our friendly farmer Freddy the pig. So that'll be coming up at noon, and then at 1 p.m. you'll be joining SuzAnne live for Awesome Osprey video highlights. And Awesome Osprey was a program we did this summer. We actually do it every year. Oftentimes we involve school kids. And this year was really fascinating because we monitored 12 ospreys nests throughout the world. I think we had representation from 4 different countries, and we were able to monitor osprey nests and be able to document some citizen science projects that a researcher named Michael Academia helped put together. And he's going to join us this afternoon as well. So SuzAnne will be here at 1 p.m. with a full presentation and kind of some highlights from the Awesome Osprey project this year. And at 2 p.m., Michael Academia will join SuzAnne, and there will be an extensive update from his findings of the Awesome Osprey project. And all of the great things that happened over the summer. So definitely plan to tune in for that. And then at 4 p.m. we have naturalist Hobie Hare joining us, and he will be here to help us welcome winter. He normally brings some great poetry, guides us in a little seasonal meditation, and just talks about the change of the seasons and helping us prepare for all of that. So anyway, we definitely hope you stick around. We'll take a short break here, but we'll have the ranch cam live and running. You'll be able to see the horses like you are here feeding and walking around in the south pasture here. So tune back in noon for me and Finding Freddy with Celia on the remote cam up. 1 p.m. for Awesome Osprey Highlights with SuzAnne, 2 p.m. with Michael Academia, and then 4 p.m. with Hobie Hare and Welcoming Winter. So thanks again for joining us today. Invite your friends to come on over, spread the word, montanasocials.org, and we will see you back here live at noon. In the meantime, enjoy the sights and sounds of Dunrovin Ranch.